Hello guys, so today I have with me my new project. Basically I have a 4K monitor and my NVIDIA Shield, but I want to put my NVIDIA Shield inside the back of my TV, so I have a full 4K NVIDIA Shield TV. It's going to be absolutely awesome for watching TV and for playing games and for going online. It's got built-in Wi-Fi. It's going to be absolutely awesome. So if you find this interesting, please like and subscribe, because there will be some more projects like this on my channel. So stay tuned and we're going to get down to business. So the first question is how are we actually going to go around about doing this? So I have had a look at the back of my monitor and there is actually quite a lot of space in the back of it. So the plan is to basically, I'm not going to dismantle the Shield. We're going to put it in, I'm going to put it in with some double-sided sticky tape. So it's actually going to be able to just sit in there, and I'll be able to take it out if I do decide that I want to just take it out and, you know, use it as a normal NVIDIA Shield at some point. As for the power supplies, we're going to have to do a bit of wiring to get that sorted out. Unfortunately, I will lose some of the functionality of the Shield, so the functionality being the USBs, so it's got two USBs and it's got an Ethernet port. I will lose those, but on the plus side I will have a full-on NVIDIA 4K TV. So this is my monitor. It is a Samsung U28D 590D UHD monitor, 28 inches, so it's relatively sized. It's quite a comfortable size, and if we have a look at the back of the monitor, we can see then that it has this ledge, okay, but actually at inside the back of this is just quite a big empty space on both sides. So we're going to be able to utilize that space in order to be able to put the NVIDIA Shield somewhere here, because it fits absolutely perfect inside, and we can use the power supplies, space for the power supplies over here, in this back corner there. So that's the general idea. I really hope it works, and I think it will. I'm almost certain. I'm going out on a whim here, so this is why it's kind of like a spontaneous project. So we're going to take this monitor apart, get it in bits, and then we can really assess what we are dealing with. Alrighty, so we have now the bezel off, and then we can start to proceed under the back of this and get the cables away from it. So we can flick up this corner of the monitor here. So now we've got the front bezel off, we can start disconnecting those cables underneath there. Okay, so the monitor is out. It's not broken, so that's a good sign. And let's see what we have. Here is our space. Here is our space. So the Shield will sit here. Oh, it looks like I may have damaged this cable. I have to check this. We got lucky, guys. The cable is absolutely fine. So what we're going to do is have basically a visual of what this is going to look like. So Shield sits perfectly right here, and let's have a look at the power supplies that we have. We've got the one for the monitor, and we do have to do some work with this. Unfortunately, as much as I don't want to, we might have to, but that could sit somewhere around here in this region. But we're gonna take this apart and hope that the insides aren't too big. So that's going to be the next move, is to see if we can actually complete this project, because I haven't had a look inside this, and I assume that it's just a transformer. There might be some other bits, but I'm assuming it's just a transformer in there. And hopefully, if that is the case, the transformer is only going to be, you know, this big, not as big as the case, obviously. Otherwise this project is going to be a failure. So let's try and crack this open and hope that it's going to fit. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we have got the power supply out. Unfortunately, it did take a bit of manipulation, shall we say, but we did end up with our first casualty. And that casualty just happens to be a little resistor right there. Or what was a resistor right there. Fortunately, the resistor is quite big. Where is it? Fortunately, the resistor is quite big and it's right there. So we are just going to pop that back on and just give it a test and hope that it works. Just a side note, if you are going to make an attempt at this yourself, and you do have to take the power supply for the Shield apart, I do recommend that you use a screwdriver and take your time with it, and not use a cutting disc to just cut the power supply open. And purely and simply, this is because the circuit board sits right on the back of the actual power supply cover, and the problem with that is that, well, that's also where the seal is, and that's where you need to get your screwdriver in to obviously get that apart. So I would be very, very careful. I mean, you could use a Dremel or something like that. Just gently cut around the sides. It will make a much cleaner job of what I've done. Yeah, just a word of advice, basically. Okie dokie. So what we're going to do now is we're going to disconnect the power supply from the terminals on the back of this box. So it's worth noting that these are they don't work bidirectionally. So this one is live and this black wire here is neutral. Fortunately it is written on the actual circuit board itself. So for the black one it is neutral here, it's written N there, and this one is written live. I assume that this is a capacitor. We will keep that wired up. So what we're going to do is basically just disconnect inside here with the soldering iron, and then that should be free. And then we're going to proceed with the next step, which is thinking how we're going to wire this to the TV. Now ideally what we would like to do is wire this input jack there and make that mains voltage in, and then we can wire the wires from the back of this jack straight to the power supplies in the bottom corner of the board of the TV where we're going to put them, and then direct that 14 volts back to the board. So let's just have a look at the board and see if that's really possible. So I've taken out the main board here where our inputs are. So let's just take out these two screws. Okay. So what have we got? Couple of inputs, outputs. But the main part of this job is getting this to have, or to handle, mains voltage, but not obviously go directly to this board here. There's the jack. So let's have a look at the circuitry going on here. So clearly this is earth. These three pins are earth. I'm not sure what this one is here, but I also would assume it's earth, judging by the look of it. So this is just normally like a 2-pin, so we have earth on the outside and the pin is the positive in the center. So let's have a look at this board and see if we can really identify what's going on. Okay, so I'm noticing something here. We have 14 volts ground. It's written right there, 14 volt ground with a pin hole. And we have V in 14 volts, so this is the positive. So we can follow this trace, actually then. We can follow this trace and see exactly where this is going. So it's going up here and onto this bus there where this writing is, and there is a resistor, and this joins onto this path here, which is connected to those two capacitors, goes down underneath the jack. So basically what this is saying is this whole thing here is Earth, and that rail there is the input, the 14-volt input. Now the difficult decision here is, do I completely separate this rail there, so then the input is completely gone, and then I can wire, well, then I can have this as 240 volts in with the earth, and then wire the 14 volt live directly to those capacitors, or bridge them in between those capacitors there, and then that will supply 14 volts to this board. And I would be able to then have the earth of all of those back. Then I would be able to wire the earth directly to this board, which would then be able to handle the 19 volts from the Shield, the 14 volts from the monitor itself. We can do that. Okay, so I believe I have separated them, separated the two rails, so that will be now our 240 in, and this side will be our 14 volt in. I'm just going to test them on the multimeter, so I'm going to have to put that in there because, well, I can't get my probes in there. Let's put that this way, shall we? Alright, so this will be our input, and so we have a straight connection to this side, and the side after where we've broke, let's test this. So this capacitor here, nothing, and this 14 volt input there, nothing, absolutely nothing. Perfect. Okay, so now the line is actually broken, and it can be bridged with the solder if we want to just put it back together. So the next job now is basically, well, getting some wire from there, but also we have to think about this HDMI cable port here. So what I was thinking was to unsolder these points there, this side and this side, and we're going to be able to just flick apart these clamps there of the plastic, desolder it also, and that should just leave then this port on the inside. And then what we're going to do is then we should just be able to just slide a cable straight over that without any problems whatsoever, and then the cable can basically run up and around. So let's get some wires first on here, and then we need to do some testing again. So I'm going to cut some wire, solder this on, and yeah, let's see how we go. test that with the multimeter again. Oh, positive. So and we have a direct connection to the wire here. And what about everything else? So this 14 volt, no, perfect. Okay, that's exactly what we need. We should also solder the earth. We're going to solder it to this pin here. Alright, so finally got it on. That's the earth lead, but this soldering iron, it just does not retain heat at all. It's really annoying actually. It's upsetting almost. Okay, so anyway, that aside, we have an earth wire, we have a live wire. That's exactly what we need anyway. So what we need to do now is we need to well, get this HDMI port off. Not the port itself, but the actual bracket. So I've had to resort to other means by manually basically taking it apart and being a bit destructive. Just get rid of this. Okay, so now what we need to do is basically fold this that way. So just very gently. Okay, so we've ripped some pads, that's nice. So guys, we are done with part one of this video. So basically what we've got to do now is I have to test that this HDMI port is going to work, because it did break off some pins. So I've soldered down what I think is all of them. So we've got to test them now, unfortunately, because that's just the whole thing of working with these types of things. But yeah, so I've got to test this, but hopefully it's working. If not, I'm going to have to work on it to get it fixed. And then it's just a case of bridging those two capacitors with another brown wire for live, and that will be the 14 volt live to power this board. And then basically it's just putting it together and then testing it out and hoping that all comes well, basically. So stick around and we will get to the next part very, very soon, because I'm eager to get this working.